Hello, listeners, and welcome to another week on Chasm Converses. This week, I have Jack Bolingbroke joining me from here in Adelaide. We talked about being involved in the music scene for a decade. He tells me about his travels and tours in China and Taiwan. We banter about iPods, and we also discuss his musical versatility playing in 5 different bands. And you can see 2 of his bands play at the Crown and Anchor on March 6th. The Slowpeth performing songs by Opeth, and Kuiper playing alongside Ekosa in a show which they are calling Slowpeth. So if you're around Adelaide at that time, go along and support the boys. But for now, join us for the conversation, and let's get conversing. Chasm Converses. Jack Bolingbroke, welcome to Chasm Converses.
Hello. Cool. It's good to be here, man. How are you doing?
Yeah, man, brilliant. Not too bad. I actually have a show tonight. It's my first show in a year. With the Casman boys. So I've got all that kind of prepping up and getting ready to do. Just did my nails. Just did got to do the face later and then prep the vocals. And yeah, it should be good though. Playing like Low Life Bar, which is like I know the Low Life Bar as being the Bluebee room from like way back in the day. Where I actually had my first gig with Oceans in like 2015.
Right. That's a way back, man.
Oh man, I've been going around a while now. It's weird when you sort of reflect on it all and you're just like, man, I've actually been doing this shit for a while now. But it's cool.
It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, I always feel like I've been doing this for 2 years. Like it's always just 2 years.
Always 2 years. How long have you been doing it for?
Well, it's nearly a decade now. I don't know where the time's gone, man. It's just like, it's just vanished.
I completely agree. I mean, the really fun thing about the show is that we're playing with Larson, which is a band that started at the same time, pretty much as the original Oceans Paper Sunsets band did start as well, which is dope. And we haven't played together for years on years, so it's gonna be real fucking cool to see those guys again. And even like Big A Death Trap, Guest, who was in No X5. We went on like a tour with them and Larson and Down and Out. I can't remember what year. It was. It may have been like 2021, maybe. I'm gonna say 21. Up to like where did we go? We went to Whyalla and then we went to Port Lincoln in like this like bus thing. So cool, man. Have you done any of those like bus tours or like those big van tours just with like a bunch of people?
A little bit. Not really in Australia at all. Like so my band Voros, we went to Taiwan and China.
Wow.
I can't even remember what year it was now. It was 2016 and 2017, I reckon.
Right. Wow.
It wasn't quite the whole bus thing, but it was us in a bus with like 50 other people.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it wasn't quite the band fun experience in that way. It was just mainly just an 8-hour kind of trek.
Very like cramped, full of people and stuff. How did you find like playing over in Taiwan and China? Did you have were they quite big shows, or did you get some time also to kind of go around and explore bits and pieces?
A bit of both, actually. We were there for 2 weeks. So we did a little bit of, I guess you could say sightseeing and that sort of thing. But I think we had 3 shows lined up in Taiwan. And first of them was in, I think it was Chiayi City. I'm very bad with names, but it was a thing called Wake Up Festival.
Wow.
And we went and played there, and we weren't really sure what to expect, because sort of all the pictures we were looking at, there's these massive stages and like a bunch of people and all this. And we got there, it was this kind of small little stage on the, I think it was actually on the floor. So we're like, oh yeah, this is awesome. And we ended up sort of, I think they had this little backstage thing that kind of wasn't really a room. It was just sort of behind like a gas tank or something. And we kind of come out, and then there's suddenly just like 1,000 people there.
Oh shit.
Or a bit less, I reckon. Yeah.
Bloody hell, that would have been something to behold.
Yeah, we weren't expect that at all, because we're not even a big band or anything. So I think they just really like seeing international acts over there.
Wow, awesome, man. Yeah, that sounds like it would have been really fun to experience that, especially playing in front of like that many people. I mean, I'm trying to think back now if I've even played in front of like that many people. No, I don't think I would have played in front of 1,000 people. So yeah, that would just be like, oh man, just energy galore, like just coming back and all the rest from that for sure.
Definitely. They go nuts there too, man. They love metal. And I remember we were playing, and I remember looking down at my guitar and then looking up and just seeing this like dragon just go around in the mosh pit. So they had one
Really?
of those like yeah, that was probably one of the highlights, I would say, for
Oh
sure.
man, that sounds incredible. Yeah. My that actually reminds me, my brother just went to he just went to Thailand and
Yeah.
also to Phuket and stuff. And I'm trying to remember the band that he saw. I think it may have been Desolated or something similar to that
Mm.
nature. But like yeah, he saw them in Thailand and he sent me like some videos and stuff like that when he was there. And dude, it was in like a skate park. And so,
Oh man.
and they were like in the obviously like the bowl part, the skate park,
Mm.
and there were just these kids, man, and they were just throwing fists, like just going absolutely crazy. And my brother's
That's
just like
awesome.
standing like above the bowl, like with his mate, filming, just like, oh, I'm not getting in there.
You get like knocked
Apparently
out
it
or
was
something.
like apparently it was full on. There were like apparently like someone got like carried out. Obviously, like they like I heard they broke an arm or something and someone got concussed or whatever and they carried them out. But they just were going for it, man. It was just I was like, wow,
Yeah.
man, like it's a completely different experience altogether compared to I mean, sometimes, in Adelaide, depending who's playing, there might be a few,
Yeah.
spin kicks and all that kind of stuff. But oh
Definitely.
man, just seeing that, I was just blown away.
They seem to have a lot of energy over there. They just go for it in terms of like moshes and that sort of thing.
Yeah, 100%, man. Yeah. I mean, I love the fact that you've been able to like travel and stuff with your music, man. 'Cause that's like something that I
Mm.
mean, even like a few artists and stuff don't kind of get to do. But I'd love to know like how you kind of wanted to start off in doing music because I mean, I can go through the lists of the bands that you're currently you're currently in. And
Yeah.
it's an incredibly impressive
Yeah.
list, man. I mean, like, Slow Light, Halua, Kuiper, is that how you spell it?
Kuiper.
Kuiper,
Kuiper.
right, cool.
Yeah.
Voros, and then Wings of Thanatos. It's like, bro,
Hmm.
you're just all in with
Yeah.
like the music scene being, and like you play different instruments and that kind of stuff as well, man. It's like it's really great, man. So yeah, I'd love to know like what was your kind of insight for getting into music in the first place?
I actually, thinking back that far, I'm not really sure, to be quite honest. I just remember always being like absolutely fascinated by just sounds in general.
Right.
Um, even probably before I even knew what music was, like sort of, I'd always actually, I live in the hills in here in Adelaide, and
Oh yeah, yeah.
Adelaide Hills, and we get like freight trains and stuff coming through.
Yeah,
I
right, right.
remember vividly as a kid just being absolutely mesmerized by like how the train kind of comes through all the hills and you get all the reverberation and
Yeah, right.
it just scatters everywhere. It's really such an interesting sound.
Sick.
So yeah, just I don't know, just audio and sound in general has always just been a massive thing for me. But in terms of getting into music, my mum listened to a lot of Kiss and
Mm,
sort of rock sort of stuff. So that's kind of, I
nice.
guess, where that sort of part of it came in. And sort of, I guess, going through school, I remember listening to, I didn't really listen to anything specific. I think I was just sort of a bit more into sort of whatever was on, I
Yeah.
guess. And I remember getting to high school and I met my friend Tom Pierce, who plays in the Slowlight
Yes, right.
as well. And I remember we were studying in the library or something. I think that was maybe the first 2 weeks of even getting to high school and
Mm.
meeting him. And he showed me Master of Puppets by Metallica.
Mm.
And I remember just
Shit.
being like, what? Couldn't even like imagine this being music. And I
Yeah.
think since that point, yeah, yeah. So I could say he's probably the reason I got into metal and all of that to
Oh, that's
begin with,
awesome,
to be
man.
quite honest.
It's always so
So
great when you can find someone who can kind of like get you into things or they give you like
mm,
the influences and the inspiration and you kind of just do the rest. Like you kind of get
yes,
that one thing and then you just kind of flow with it and then you just fucking carry it as far as you want to carry it.
exactly, yeah. Yeah, I remember, although I remember getting I had an iPod that had Metallica's whole discography on it after that.
Oh, yeah, nice.
And I remember being very, very stubborn about it, and I would not accept that there were any other bands that ever existed for like
Yeah.
like 2 years, man. I just like
Yeah.
smashed that band.
Oh, dude,
And
that's
then
the best.
yeah,
Did you have like like an iPod Nano or like an iPod
it
Classic?
was
And then what was your like
iPod Classic.
gigabyte? What was your gigabyte range?
Oh God, I got 128, man. I
Oh,
reckon that
that's a good one, man. That's a good range. Holy shit, that's plenty. That could fit the
the
whole thing
classic,
on it.
yeah.
I
Definitely
had like
needed
a
that a bit later on. When I started, I think I found Megadeth, and then it just yeah, it went off from there. And then you just collect just a bunch of musics through means that probably aren't quite great, but
Mm.
having a full iPod full of just all this music and just yeah,
Dude,
living
I
on
had
that thing.
like I remember I had mainly MP3 players when I was like kind of growing up, just had like little like those little like box things that you can buy for like,
Mm.
like fucking $80 or something from like JB Hi-Fi or Dick Smith
Yep.
back in the day. And I remember when I never bought an iPod, but I grabbed my sister's older one when she kind of upgraded, and it was this little classic, and it was quite literally like 1 GB. And the screen was
One,
like, it was
yeah.
1 GB. The screen was quite literally just like a little rectangle at the top, and then the rest of it was just like the body, and then like
Oh, I
because you
remember
shuffle
them.
it. Yeah, those ones.
Yeah,
And
I remember
like,
them.
yeah, and that was funny because I had like maybe 100 songs in it, but because it was going through like the high school stage, it varied from like the metal and the heavy stuff that I wanted to listen
Mm.
to like the conforming pop and rap that everybody else in high school was listening to.
Yep. Oh yeah.
It was like that back, like that complete different discography altogether. But oh yeah, dude, you would have had that would have been awesome, like listening to like Metallica and going through Megadeth as well. So many
Mm.
people that like I've talked to and stuff, they were massive influences to
Yeah.
them. And
They
I was
always seem
also
to
very
be.
happy that I was able to watch Metallica at Download Festival recently. That was awesome.
That would have been nuts, man. Absolutely crazy. They're a good band. They're a really good band, actually.
Yeah,
Um,
man. I mean, even like, yeah, listening to them growing up and then going into like, so trying to, I guess, like find yourself as a bit of a musician and stuff, it would
mm,
have been such a great influence, especially then when you kind of, I guess, because as I said, like with the stuff that you write and the bands that you're involved in, some of them are like, heavy metal, that kind of stuff. Some of them are very nice and soft and smooth and just like
yes.
really nice, like atmospheric kind of metal or atmospheric rock in a way.
Yeah, definitely. It's actually, yeah, it's interesting. I've thought about that a couple of times. When it comes to that, I remember actually because I got massively into thrash metal. That was my massive thing in high school in
Mm,
particular. So I'd go through all those bands and then sort of even getting into death metal bands. And I always found that the songs that had the most re-listenability for me were the ones that had like really nice clean sections.
right. Okay.
I always found that. So it's almost like as if the Slow Light, for example, is almost a
Mm,
band that's kind of come out of like my love for almost like those metal clean sections, but almost
yeah.
making them into a full song in a
Yeah.
way.
I totally get that. I mean, one of my favorite art bands is like Killswitch Engage, and their
Great band.
clean sections in their songs are just like, oh man, they're just so melodic and like mesmerizing at times, I think is another
Mm,
good word to put into it. And I always wondered, like, man, I love if there was a genre of music that kind of just had this sort of stuff the whole way through. And I
yes,
guess like the slow light sort of really throws that in the park.
definitely a definitely a lot of influence from that sort of thing. Absolutely. And then of course it's almost like a reversal of it in a way. Like you have the metal song with like 90% metal and that 10% clean section, and then the
Mm.
slow light's just the opposite of that. Like
Yeah.
10% metal and 90% clean.
Yeah,
Um,
no, 100%, man. But like, yeah, dude, that would have been great. So like what was the band that you sort of first, because obviously you said you've been doing this for maybe almost a decade now. What was your
mm,
first band that you kind of got into jumping into the music scene?
that was Voros, that one.
Right, wow, damn.
Remember, because I used to take lessons at Army where I teach now actually
Oh,
as
beautiful.
well.
I went
And
past there the other day.
yeah, I was there
Yeah.
yesterday actually.
Oh, no way. That's awesome, man. Yeah, it's great. I never really knew where it was. And then I was doing a water run with my dad's friend helping him out for the week. And we were
Yeah.
parking in that section where there's just like a fuckload of loading zones. So there's always
Yes.
like vans and trucks and shit. We were just sitting there and I was just like waiting in the van. I was like, oh, there's Army.
Yeah, it's in a cool location actually. Really nice and central.
No, absolutely.
Really
And there
cool
was
place.
plenty of people going in and going out as well. So like,
Yeah.
it's great to see that, people are like going in there and learning how to scream, play bass, play drums and guitar and all the rest of it, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's a cool little spot to have for that sort of, especially like in the CBD. I think that's like important because it's just so
Mm.
central to everything. But yeah, basically taking lessons there, and I think I started there like when I was like 14 or
Wow,
15 or
okay.
something like that. And basically, uh, Christian put me in contact with I can't remember who from Voros, but
Mm.
one of them. And so I ended up learning a couple of their songs by ear and sent them a video of that. And then they basically invited me to a rehearsal. and I guess that went well. And my first gig was in Bendigo
Oh wow.
when I was 17.
Shit, that's brilliant. Oh my goodness,
Yeah, so
wow.
chucked in the deep end almost a little bit.
Yeah, right. That'd
So
have been like very interesting going up there for like your first gig outside of Adelaide.
yeah, it was definitely an experience. So I had the they sort of tested me a little bit to make
Initiate
sure I
like an
was like
initiation.
yeah, the middle seat of the car initiation.
Oh, right. The worst place to be
Both
when you're
ways.
the worst. Oh,
Yeah,
both ways. Oh
both
man, it's like
ways.
yeah, that's definitely being thrown in the deep end there, especially when you're the new kid and you're like, oh man.
Stuck in the middle for 8 hours, man. But yeah, that was cool from what I remember. And I think we just like crashed in the top of the venue um, overnight. And yeah, that was like my first gig experience ever.
Wow.
So definitely, yeah, definitely a deep end one. But I guess the cool thing about it is I got used to it very quickly. So I guess from there, just it sort of felt quite natural, I
Yeah,
suppose.
right.
I reckon the second gig with them, it may well have been here, but it was either here or Sydney, I reckon.
Wow, man, that's awesome. That's
So
like, yeah, the track record is looking good. And then obviously you've got, China and then Taiwan to put on top of all of that as well.
yeah, a couple of years later.
Oh
Yeah, that
man,
was yeah, what a time.
seasoned
Really
vet.
cool. Yeah.
So what was your kind of your decision and your want to then sort of branch out and become like a front man of your own band and start to write your own stuff and put together your own band?
Man, I don't know. I think I just started writing music. I got really inspired there from I think started getting into prog metal and prog rock, I think.
Yeah,
And that would have been actually about the time where it started getting really popular
right.
to mid 2010s.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think because I used to write a lot of stuff on Guitar Pro,
Oh, right, yeah.
like a lot of metal stuff. And so I just started testing things out and seeing, oh, I'll write some prog metal, I
Hmm.
suppose, which looking back definitely wasn't prog metal, but more so just like a mathematical like thing of time signatures that didn't really make much sense.
Oh, wow, really? A lot of
Yeah.
experimentation.
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely. Like, I quite like taking things to the extreme. Whether or not they work or not is another thing. But just testing out how far something goes, and I guess you get sort of start knowing what it is, and then you dial it back to something a bit more realistic.
Mm. Process
But
of
yeah, sort
songwriting
of,
is quite fun for sure. It definitely
it's
tests
great,
you
isn't
a
it?
lot, especially if
Yes.
you're keen to like actually go straight into it and give like almost exhaust all possibilities nearly before you sort of step back. And then it's kind of like it's weird. A lot of times the most basic idea and the most basic thing is the one that kind of works, but you don't really know that
Yeah,
until you sort of
yeah.
go into so many other things first.
That's a great point, actually. I've been finding that as well.
Yeah.
Where it's I don't know, maybe it's the older you get, like the more simplistic things become, like musically, like in terms of
Yeah.
writing. But yeah, it's definitely gone that way a little bit. Hey,
Yeah, I
have you
mean,
found the
especially
same?
with yeah, especially with like well, especially for myself, like lyric writing, it's
Yeah.
very similar in the fact that like, I can have a chorus for something and then I might think of the chorus another way and I'll do something
Mm.
else. One of the most recent songs that we're almost going to be putting out soon, I wrote 8 choruses for it.
Oh, nice.
And like differentiating between screams and cleans and all that kind of stuff. And after
Yep.
a while, I had to message Travis and be like, dude, like, here, do you choose? Because I don't know. There's too many. And in the end, he chose like one of the more simplistic ones. And I was like, oh, yeah,
Okay.
okay, you sure? And then after a while, I was like, actually, no, this does sound much better than the ones that I sort of did have in mind.
Man, that's a good way to do it too, actually, is just sort of like get someone else to make a decision in a way.
Oh,
Because
yeah,
I'm
for
not sure
sure,
if you
man.
find this as well, but just the full overthinking of anything like within a song or even like a
Mm.
mix or anything like that. It's just like full, just mind's going like this.
Oh,
And
yeah,
it's yeah, you
yeah.
almost just need someone to be like, just relax. And like this is
Yeah,
good. Keep
you
it
need
there.
to the classic adage of just like you need to step out of the frame to see the full picture sort of thing. It's
Exactly, yeah.
yeah, it's very wise words, but very, very true. Especially when you can get someone who's a bit more musically proficient than you are in different cases.
Yep,
Even just getting someone who's
definitely.
just an everyday listener as well is actually kind of cool because I mean, especially for the music and stuff. I mean, as well as we are making music and creating visions and sounds that we've come up with ourselves and that we've tried to craft, they're the ones
Mhm.
that are going to be listening to it sort of over and over again. So if they enjoy it or if they have criticism for it or constructiveness they can put towards it, it adds so much more to it, and you can, and that makes you kind of learn,
Hmm.
especially as well. Like, oh, maybe
Yeah.
like, I can take this on board and add that into my next release and all the rest of it.
Exactly, yeah. 'Cause it's almost like I guess people who are more into listening music rather than sort of being involved in writing and everything, they're less likely to kind of find the little things to overthink about as well. They
Yeah,
sort of almost
yeah.
listen to the music as just music, whereas like I guess let's say like I was a drummer or something, like
Mm.
you'd probably be listening out for the drum parts quite a bit more than you would be the whole song in
Yeah.
some cases, I suppose.
It's a really good way to put it. I was hanging out with a friend of mine the other day, and she was telling me about, I think it was a guitarist or a drummer, that she knew, and he like listened to a bunch of songs his bands that his bands play or whatever, and and she was like, oh, could you like, do you know any of the lyrics to the songs or whatever? And he was like, no, I don't know any of the lyrics to any of the songs. And I was like, wow, that's fascinating. It's like, yeah, because he just listens for his parts and to
Yeah.
like how that stuff sounds. He listens to more the instrumentation and the lyrics. And I was like,
Yep.
that's so fascinating because the lyrics are so in the front and they're like such a connection to a general
Yes.
listener in that way. But to like kind of have no idea what the lyrics are, but be like, I know that that guitar's hitting this note and that that drum is hitting that part in this section over here. I thought that was incredible. I thought that was just brilliant.
It's interesting you bring that up because I'm actually quite the same.
Oh, really?
I don't know the lyrics to a lot of things, to be honest. So I've always listened to the instrumental stuff. Well, not instrumental songs, but just mainly the instruments.
The instrumentation
But
behind the tracks, yeah.
yeah, recently it's changed a little bit, sort of starting to do vocals myself. But yeah, it's like for the longest time there, always
Mm.
just into the main, I guess what the guitar's doing mainly. But yeah, I did take a lot of notice of just sort of more the instrumentals. And I think that's why actually, with the slow light at least, or the thing that came before that even, like it was all instrumental.
Yeah.
I hadn't even really, in terms of writing at least, hadn't even thought about putting vocals into it.
Yeah,
And I
that's
think
right.
that is because I was just so used to it. And I'd always almost listen to the vocals as if it was just like like a trumpet or something.
Yeah.
It's there for the melody rather than for the lyrics. But
Yeah, yeah, right. No, that actually makes a lot of sense to me because yeah, because I mean, obviously I saw you guys play maybe about a week or so ago at the
mm,
old Cranker, which is obviously a great place to go.
I love the
And
cranker.
yeah, dude, it's awesome. But yeah, and then I knew that you sang like you started to sing more recently with the music videos and stuff that you put out,
Mm,
but I'm fairly sure, yeah, back in the day, like when you did, I guess like Cinema of the Mind and those kind of ones, were they all instrumental?
all instrumental. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I figured so for sure. How was like I guess learning to kind of sing and like your process in sort of and putting the vocals over it? Did you think that it was really necessary to do so? And did you have a good time kind of learning to sing and being able to do that?
Yeah, it was an interesting one. I think I I'm not sure why I ended up deciding to put vocals in there. I think
Mm,
honestly, I think it was just because when I write music mainly, it's sort of I try and just use it as a bit of an outlet rather than anything else. I think it was
mm.
just the next step of adding a bit more of that in there
Yeah,
as
okay.
well. So I guess from what happened, I think from that the debut album there,
Mm.
is I think I was writing songs for the instrumental stuff. In fact, there's one song on that album that had gone through a couple of different instrumental versions actually before the
All
vocals
right. That's interesting.
ended on that one.
Yeah, right.
Um, yeah, actually, we played it live once as an instrumental song. I
Oh wow,
reckon
really?
Enigma Bar, I think, or something like
God
that.
rest it, God rest its soul.
Yes, absolutely. What a tragedy.
I
But
like I went past. I just saw Wednesday 13 on the other day at Line Arts Factory with Falter, who are
yeah,
fucking beast of a band. And as I was walking back to my car, I walked past where Enigma used to be, and I haven't actually seen that spot since I've gotten back. And I walked
yeah.
past Enigma, and like just saw there was just nothing there, and there were just like two guys sitting on like the bench out the front, and they were
Yeah.
just obviously in their like band and stuff, but they were just like reminiscing about yeah, like it's gone now, and like having a moment to themselves.
Oh
I
man.
thought it was so funny.
Yeah, I walked past actually last weekend, and yeah, similar thing. It was just eerie almost, like just seeing it. Almost like it looked repainted actually. It looked like someone had
Yeah,
done something
I'm wondering
to it,
what they're
but
going to actually kind of shove in there and see if they're going to kind of do anything else with it. But
hopefully
like,
another venue.
that would be
That would
nice. Yeah. I mean, we
we
definitely need,
need that.
especially for like, local heavy acts and that sort of stuff. We
Mm.
definitely need more of those. So yeah, that'd be a great idea.
Yeah.
Um, I'd love to go into like the other bands and stuff that you're doing, man, because like, you do so much with like slow light and stuff. And then
Mm.
I love the fact that you're in so many bands as like a guitarist and a bassist. It just shows that you just love like, music and being a part of, I guess, bands and fun things as well.
Yes.
Like I love the fact that like, you're in Halua and Wings of
Yeah.
Thanatos. I'm with a bunch of guys that, are good friends of mine as well, like Lockie and
Mm.
Rory. How do you
Absolutely.
like, do you really enjoy sort of doing that kind of stuff? And I guess like, just being involved in so many different people's ideas and projects?
Yeah. Yeah, music is by far the biggest thing in my life for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, a lot of it honestly is just sort of playing with friends, really.
Mm.
At least that's how Holor definitely, that's how honestly it's how all of them started really. But Holor, we just kind of had some funny ideas of black metal songs. The other guys had quite a few ideas before I ended up joining.
Mm.
And then I remember just jamming in Matt's parents' like side room thing there,
Yeah.
and yeah, it sort of just happened from there, really.
Sick.
It was sort of almost just like it'd be a fun bit of a fun thing to kind of all switch up instruments a little bit. Like Matt's obviously mainly a guitarist.
Yeah.
Nathan's a keyboardist.
Mm.
I guess Lachlan's the only one that's sort of sticking to his same sort of usual instrument, although he's a keyboardist as well.
Yeah, his keyboards as well. True. Yeah, it's great that you guys all just sort of shuffle around and start playing different things. It just shows like the
Yep.
versatility in everybody. Just you guys can play just so many different instruments that you're just given, which is a skill that like not a lot of people have. So it's to be admired, man.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it's I will say actually, like from doing that, I absolutely fell in love with bass. Like
Right.
I never expected that to happen, but I sort of just started playing around a little bit. I got on bought a cheap fretless bass, and then from
Yes, that's
there,
the one I saw at that show. It's
oh
great, man.
my God, what an instrument! It's so underrated, honestly. Like the bass, there's so much you can do with it, but it's so often just sort of resorted to sitting in the back, just doing root notes. But there's so much
Yeah,
interplay you
yeah.
can do between guitars. I
Mm,
guess we're lucky to have one guitar, honestly, in Halore,
mm.
because it does allow for me and Nathan to just really just play off of each other. There's a
Yeah.
few moments in a couple of songs. I think it's which song? I think it's Arachnid, that song.
Oh, dude, I love
Uh,
that song. It's beast.
yeah, it's
One of the
almost a
best
fun
riffs
song to
ever written,
play.
in my opinion.
The intro one?
Yeah, did a little, did a little, did a
Oh
little.
man, it's
So
almost like a
good.
bit thrashy too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
But
great.
yeah, there's one part in there that me and Nathan called the snake part, or I think the serpent part. And it's just this like harmonic minor thing, but every time we play it, we both look over at each other, and
Oh,
because we just kind of play it in unison. And
yeah.
man, just being able to do that sort of stuff, it's just so much fun, man.
Yeah, dude,
Um,
absolutely. I mean, I can completely understand about the bass thing as well. I played bass in an indie band for 9 years, and
yeah,
I didn't
right.
really know how to play bass at all.
Yeah.
So I kind of just played it a little bit like a guitar, or just how
Mhm.
like people would sort of show me, I guess, what to do, and I just sort of go my own way with it. But it is a
Yep.
really fun instrument. I felt like it was also a
So
really
good.
fun instrument to be able to like, you could really sort of I mean, most of the parts that I was playing were quite simplistic as you would expect
Yep.
in an indie rock band. But in saying that, it was so good because you could just like really get into like I love to move on stage and throw the hair around and all the rest of it. And it
Mm.
was an instrument that really gave you the free range to kind of do that as well, I found, which is great
Good.
for like
Good point.
to get yourself really like invested and like involved in the music, but also to like make the
Mm.
stage presence of the band just look fucking tight.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. I did find with a lot of the guitar stuff, or the bands I play guitar in, I suppose, is a lot of it is kind of technical stuff.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, you're always kind of just locked. Just
Yeah, for sure.
that.
But then
There's
you've
the
got the
bass.
appreciation. You got the appreciation looking at
Exactly.
you like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
But yeah, the bass. I guess when you do sort of simmer it down a little bit and sort of playing sort of more supporty stuff, I suppose
Mm.
you can just it just gives you so much freedom to move around and to interact and those sort of things as well. You're quite
Yeah,
right
dude.
about that.
No,
Um,
100%. I completely agree with that, man. Absolutely. And so what's the next show that you've got coming up? Because I mean, with being in five bands, there has to be a show soon with at least one of them, I expect.
we got that Opeth cover song, cover set
All
rather.
right.
At Cranker again, good old Wednesday
Oh,
night.
sweet. Awesome. Which band's that
Um,
one with?
So that is with the slow light, but we're doing a full
Sweet.
set of Opeth songs, and we've got
Awesome.
Theo from Ekosa doing the vocals
Oh
as
man,
well.
he's
So
got an amazing vocal just
crazy
range
good,
and
man.
just like grit to his voice. Like obviously
Mm,
hearing him at Heavy SA, I was
yeah.
just like, wow, this guy's got some fucking pipes. That's awesome.
He's another one actually with absolutely brilliant stage presence. I
Yeah,
love watching him perform, man. It's
yeah,
so cool.
100%. I kind of wish the crowd at Heavy had sort of got into everything a little bit more. But then I was
Yeah,
watching it and being like, man, if you perform that in other parts of Australia or even like overseas, man, people would just be
yeah,
would be all into that.
all over it for sure. No, absolutely. So yeah, it'd be that. Kuiper's playing that one as well. So
Oh,
that'll be
sweet.
Kuiper's first show, which will
So
be really
you're,
fun.
so you're doing double duty that night.
Double duty, yeah. So I actually quite like doing that, especially if the band's like one after actually I think we're playing I think it's Kuiper, then Ekosa, then Slowpeth. We're calling it Slowpeth.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So there will be a little bit of a break in between, which is cool. But
Hell yeah,
sometimes I
man.
like just you'll play the songs, and then there's that 15-minute changeover or whatever, and all you have to do
Mm.
is just change guitars,
Yeah.
and then you do
Yeah.
it again. It's so
Yeah.
cool.
And you just jump straight back into it. That's so great,
Yeah,
man. Well, like, I'd love to finish off by asking you a very, very important question. In your opinion, what is your favorite Creed album that has been brought out?
that's a very, very obvious question, I think, and that is absolutely Human Clay.
Human clay. Oh
Has
yeah,
to be
definitely.
Human Clay.
Has to be human clay.
There's no
I
other
s-
Creed album.
no, no, no. I still love that we spent New Year's myself, you and yourself and Rory just wandering the beach of Glenelg North,
Yeah,
just blasting human clay and just disrupting everyone's good time.
absolutely. I remember waking up the next morning with no voice because we were singing so many of those songs at the top of our lungs on the
Oh
beach.
yeah, dead set, man. Higher,
What a
man.
night.
It's always, you know what the weirdest thing about that is, right? I had never really heard that song all the way through until like we did it that night. Because I'd heard like With Eyes Wide Open and a few other songs, but Higher just
Yeah,
was one of those songs that I hadn't really heard. And then like a day or so after that whole night, I started just getting all these Creed memes just like popping up on my on my Facebook and my Instagram that had that song as like the thing. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? I have never
it all
seen this
simmered up
before.
really at the same time, didn't it?
Yeah,
Like
I'm like,
we're
man, did
doing
we just like create this Creed meme movement with a fucking song? I was so
came out of
confused.
nowhere.
Yeah, dude, it really took me by surprise, and hence why I just started tagging you and Roy in all of them because I was like, guys, look what we've done.
As
We
many
must have had
Creed
something
memes as possible.
we must have had something to do with this.
Oh, easily, absolutely. And my next venture is definitely getting a Human Clay shirt
Oh yeah, definitely.
for
That'd be
sure.
great. I mean,
Creed merch.
surely they still sell them online, I expect. I'm gonna have a
I
look.
hope so. I was looking for them, and they were actually kind of hard to find,
Really?
unfortunately.
Right.
But I'm willing to pay a little bit more money to have a Human Clay shirt.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, you can. Oh, there's a few that you can sort of get. I think from what I'm researching right now, you can get like that website Redbubble that has
Oh
like
yeah,
they have like people who like make like the art and that sort of stuff, and you can just like select it and put it on like a shirt or put it on
we could
like
do that.
an item. So like or like you could put it. There's one you can put like a throw pillow. Like a
Oh,
human,
okay. Now we're
or
talking.
yeah, or like a
Absolutely.
mug, dude. I'm gonna. I reckon. Yeah. I'm not too sure when all the boys' birthdays are, but I reckon everyone's gonna be getting a
Some good
human
presents
clay.
in there.
Yeah, there's
Human
gonna be
Clay
some
mug.
there'll be a human clay mug and maybe like a throw pillow. uh,
Or a Human Clay beach towel for next New
oh
Year's.
yeah, that is perfect. Literally, a human clay beach towel.
Done. I'm
Hell
going to
yeah, man.
research into that.
Yeah. Well, Jazz, this has been so awesome, man. Thank you so much for joining me
Thank
on
you
the
so much for having me
podcast.
on, man.
For the listeners, do check out all of Jack's projects, Slowlight, Halua, Kuiper, Voros, Wings of Thanatos, and obviously, yeah, your show on it was in March, yeah, start of March.
March 6th. I hope
March
that's a
6th, yeah.
Wednesday.
Any Adelaide listeners, yeah, definitely get down to that at the Cranker. And hear the Opeth cover set.
That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Very
dude,
keen.
absolutely. No, thank you for joining me, man. And obviously,
Thanks for having me.
I'll be seeing you throughout the year, but I also wish you good luck in the rest of your musical journey.
Thank you, man.
thank you so much for tuning in to the episode this week. I hope you enjoyed the conversation with Jack and myself. Go check out his music in either one of the bands that he's a part of, and chuck him a follow on the socials to keep up to date with everything that he's got going on, including his upcoming show at the Crown and Anchor on March 6th. There are links in the description of this episode where you can find it all. As for myself, follow me on Instagram or YouTube at This Is Chasm, where you can find reels from this podcast and even some extended clips. And finally, please leave a rating and or review for the show wherever you listen to your podcasts. And I'll see you next week for a new episode with a new guest here on Chasm Converses.